time finding another job. So I decided I've always loved to do websites. And so I wanted to pursue that more. I went and took a course, and now I'm started my practice, but mostly getting work word of mouth, friends and family, some contacts from the course that I took, people that kind of write into the college and ask for any new graduates. So I've been getting some work that way as well. Still in the process of learning, so I haven't really done or felt confident enough to really go out there and market myself. Still something I need to do. My website is not up, but I've been busy doing little jobs for clients and also spending a lot of time learning. I guess I kind of want to hit certain milestones.
Right.
I've done the websites. I've done, now I'm doing this blogging site, which is a new challenge. And I guess the next one will be doing an e-commerce site. I think once I hit that, then I'll be more confident to go out there and market myself a little bit harder.
Cool. Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. And I'm hoping that during the course of today's time, we'll definitely be able to share tips and advice, because there are some people here who have definitely got like a lot of experience in the industry. And there are also people who are like dealing with other areas that would be beneficial to learn and to know, especially when you're starting out in your web design business. So thank you so much for sharing. So we do have some new people in the room. So we're going to go around. So Favor, you're next, and then Bruno, and then I think Jacques came in second to last, and then Mika. So Favor, you're up. Tell us a bit about your business, how you got started into WordPress, web design, digital marketing, and we'd love to hear more about how we can assist you.
Absolutely. So my name is Favor, and currently the business that I run is Plumber Marketing Crew. We specialize in helping plumbing and HVAC contractors to get more customers, more leads via the internet. So I'm in my last year of business marketing at Humber College. But in my first year, I really wanted to understand how internet marketing works. So I went out and I worked with mortgage brokers, I worked with dentists, I worked with chiropractors as a freelancer. But for me, it was really hard because I was looking to understand how to use systems and automations. And I remember having clients' password on my head or on a paper. So that was tough. And surprisingly, I was working with 7 people, surprisingly.
Wow.
So, but it was terrible. I had to stop it. I went to go work for a digital marketing company in Toronto. So I kind of started understanding how that stuff was working. 6 months into it, COVID came. Business was moving slow. I was bored. It was boring. And so, but nevertheless, I got some really cool opportunities. Even while I was in school, I was able to do some projects for Canada Post, Meridian Credit Union Bank. It was a sponsorship then. So I went through that process. I really enjoyed it because I had to like speak to people and all that kind of stuff. So I think last month, October 10th, I launched Plumbing and HVAC Marketing Crew. Is really new. I have only a landing page right now. I'm working on the real website. So when it comes to like technical stuff, like building websites, running ads I kind of understand, but like building websites and all this kind of stuff, I'm learning it. But I just got my first clients. We're launching on November 30th at HVAC clients. And I have a sales call on Saturday at 9 a.m. with a plumbing guy in Mississauga. So thankfully, the training that I got from, let's say, the marketing company and just the drive of trying to understand how this stuff works as a freelancer has gotten me to this place. And I'll also say this, I'm really excited because I live in Brampton, and when I saw this stuff, Brampton Meetup, and I was like, whoa, this is amazing, because usually I go to YouTube and watch videos, but it's really nice to connect here for sure.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Great to have you here. And like I said, it's really cool to have, like, I see so many people here of, like, again, variety of skill levels, people who have like a couple of months experience in the industry, people who have like a decade plus of experience. And so I'm really, really happy that we all could have come together on super short notice to kind of learn. Okay, so next up, Bruno, could you please unmute yourself and share your story of how you got started in web design with WordPress, how your business is going, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, hello, everybody. Yeah, so I've been using WordPress for probably like 15 years.
Wow.
So I think I started 2008,
Mhm.
2006, just creating a podcast. These things had just come up, and so I figured out how to record me and my buddies and put that out in an RSS feed, completely administrated with WordPress, and it was a lot of fun. And I learned a whole bunch how to host websites and everything. And anyway, so fast forward to now, I've worked with a handful of marketing agencies, and a lot of them in the experiential trade show and digital marketing realms. So due to COVID, a couple of things happened. A really good thing. I decided to walk away from my work job and start my own company, sort of a reboot of things that I had been doing before.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that building websites and putting together graphics and animation and mash it all together into a branding package is something that I'm very good at. So I'm fairly confident that I can see a path to growing my business and launching it early next year officially. So reason why I've joined these meetings is because I recognize the relevance of WordPress and how it's such a versatile tool, and I really want to see how others are using it. So especially locally, to see what everybody's doing. So glad to listen to everyone's experiences. It's great. Yeah.
Great to have you here. Thank you so much for sharing, and we wish you all the best as you're launching next year. Okay, so a couple more people came through. So I think we were at Jacques was next, and then Mika, and then I think we'll do Sandra, Pepper. Okay, no problem, Pepper. That's not a problem. So we'll do Jacques, then Mika, Sandra, then Thava. Please correct me if I said your name wrong. So Jacques, you're up next. So share with us, your web design story, how you got to be established in whether it's WordPress or web design, and what's your story? How did you get here?
Actually, I'm a web Zoom user, and but for some reason it didn't want to use my standard installation. In any case, one of the interesting things is that for Favor, we were going to try to figure out a way to set up a system so that in effect he would have a template for a website. That's useful not just for Favor, but for any user, that they have a layout of a website the way they want to run it. All the plugins that they want, the theme they want, the setup for the theme, the setup for some of the key plugins, and so forth. Also, you go to the side bar and you want to set up things like what is going to be the setting for reading, for primary menu, and so on and so forth. Well, it turns out if you use All-in-One Migration Pro, and although it says Pro, it's really free. You can create that prototype template just by creating a WordPress file and system, and then putting in all the things that you want in your system, and then stopping and put all-in-one migration to create a copy, a duplicatable copy. You could also use Duplicator Pro, but the advantage of all-in-one is that it can handle much bigger files that are saved. And so I've just completed that yesterday, and I'm creating a bunch of files on my new VPS, virtual personal systems. So what I'm creating is empty files that have all the setup that I normally need and have to spend 20 minutes to half an hour to set up properly. Well, I do it in one all-in-one migration, and it's done. And it takes, that was one of the reasons I was trying to get rid of what's your files that, or sorry, images that were excessive yesterday. You get rid of all your images that you don't need, and it went from 500 megabyte migration file down to 120 megabytes. And it could then be handled either by Duplicator Pro or in this case, all-in-one migration. So in effect, now I have a prototype or a template for two types of systems. One for a WooCommerce and the other one for just an ordinary blog. And I'm now ready to do those very quickly. If somebody asks, can you try out some ideas for, let's say, a WooCommerce system? I've got a template that I can run, and it will set it up. I can set it up either on Flywheel or Laragon or any of those local host systems, or I can set it up on their thing. I'm amazed I haven't done this before.
Awesome. So just so that everyone knows, I've put the notes, I'm putting notes into the chat, and then at the end of this meeting, you can download the notes from my website, and I'll also be uploading this to YouTube for you to access. So in short, what I've put in the notes so far is that if you have Duplicator Pro or All-in-One Pro, you can actually use that to create a template for websites, and that will basically save menu items, plugins, and themes for clients. So potentially you could have a templated system that you can use to quickly, easily, and effectively implement different websites for your clients. So Fav, I know because you work in a very specific niche, that might be something that you could look into. I know that at Noya Designs, that was something we were looking into, where it was creating digital products or niching down very specifically, and being able to create templates and selling them, or child themes. That's something that I've actually been looking into doing for my personal brand, where it's basically like we'll build, like Jacques said, like maybe a website for a specific type of coach, as an example. And you know, as a professional, exactly the type of things they're going to ask for, because all coaches or all HVAC service providers, they all require the same thing, like maybe home services, contact booking. So thank you for sharing that piece of information. That's pretty cool. So I've written that in the notes, and then at the end of today's meetup, anything we've spoken about, you can reference here afterwards. So next up, Mika, if you would like to intro yourself, tell us a bit about how you got started in web design, how your business is doing. And then I think after Mika, I will intro Pepper, and then Sandra, you're after that, and Boris, you're after that.
Hi guys, so my name is Mika, of course, and I got into web design because I would say I was always creative. Like when I was younger, but didn't know that web design was like a thing that you could make money from. I'm 34, so I'm not like young. So back then that wasn't a thing to like become a web designer, but I've always been creative. In 2000 and I think it was 2008, 2009, I started my first business and was using some drag and drop website builder. And then from then I started another one and another one. So every time I started a business, of course, I had to make a website because I couldn't afford for somebody to make one for me. So I tried like everything, Wix, Shopify, WordPress, like I tried everything. And then one day, because I was using, I can't remember what I was using at the time. It might've been like blogger.com or something like that. And I was selling hair care products because I had a YouTube channel and people wanted to buy the products that I was selling. So I created an online shop using like PayPal buttons and blogger.com or something like that. And a friend of mine approached me, somebody that I had worked with, and she basically was trying to get me to get a website done by her. And she was going to charge me $3,000. So I was like, oh, can't afford that. It looked like I was doing really well because I had a big following on YouTube and stuff. So I guess she was thinking like I could probably afford her, but I couldn't. But fortunately, she let me know about WordPress, and she let me know about purchasing a theme on ThemeForest, and that she was customizing it. So while I was there, she actually was showing me what she was doing and what theme she purchased. And I'm sure she didn't think I would have went home and figured it out, but I'm a DIY person. So I went straight home, got the theme, at the time, I think it was like $54 US or something, redid my whole entire website and looked super professional. And when I tell you I was broke, I was broke. So like I had to like get the free trial of Photoshop to, do professional pictures. I had to go buy a camera and then return it and get lighting from IKEA, just duct taping it together. But on the front end, because I was creative, it was able to look really professional. So from that, people kept asking like, oh, who did your product labels? Who did your website? Who did your business cards? And then I would say me. So that's kind of where it started. Once I had that WordPress website, I kept getting inquiries about who did my stuff. And when they found out I did it, then they would ask if I could do it for them. And for years, I said no. So I think in 2012 is around when I started getting those questions. And I would say, no. And then finally, in 2016, I decided to, because I kept getting the same question, I decided to pick up the phone and call a few web design companies in the GTA and the US. And I asked them about the website I had created and said, hey, how much would it be if I were to get a website like this done exactly like this? And most of the quotes were about $5,000. I think the cheapest one I found was somebody in Atlanta that I really admire their work. And they said it was starting at 3,000. So that's what made me have this aha moment, like, oh my gosh, I can do this and charge for this. Like my work is worth that much money? No way. I had no clue that you could charge that kind of money for what I was doing, even though I did what the other woman showed me, you know what I mean? And she was charging that. I just, imposter syndrome, I didn't go to school for that. I went to school for business. So I just didn't think that is something that I could do. But that kind of gave me the, I don't know, the confidence that I could do it after asking actual people in that field, I called different, 5 different companies, and they all gave me in the thousands. So that's why I started. So I created a business plan, but I actually initially wanted to do something called DIY Boss Academy, where I was teaching people to do what I did, but they didn't want that. They just wanted me to do it for them. So then I kind of pivoted and created Designer Boss, where I'm just creating it for them. And I kind of put the DIY Boss on the back burner because I realized the people that I was targeting didn't have time, the energy, or even cared to build their own websites. And I specifically went after the beauty niche and the events people that do balloon decor and event planners, that type of thing. And personal brands, e-commerce sites, so I'm very niched, I do get other clients obviously, but that's what I chose to target. And so, yeah, so it's been really good. And was it Jacques? I use all-in-one WP migration, since all of my sites are very similar because it's the same type of, industry. I literally use the exact same template for almost everybody. Like if I pick like cake bakers, they all have the same template. If I pick lash artists, they all have the same template, and they actually want like their website to look like what they see in my portfolio. So some people think it's crazy that like, oh my gosh, how do you sell people the exact same website as somebody else? But that's where the branding comes in, right? Like, you know, doing different colors, logos. I slightly change it a little tiny bit, like if it's necessary, but most people, they're fine. And then even when it's like, since I'm the expert, you know, that's what I'm called from them, you know, they think I'm the expert. There's method to my madness. So there's a reason why I have it laid out that way. There's a reason why right above the header, there's 3 call to actions. Then there's a section, you know, about, you know, your training or your this or that. Like so they trust the process, and they're fine that their site looks exactly like that person's site, just different. Do you know what I mean? Like different in terms of colors. And yeah, so I've been doing it officially since 2016. As soon as I launched, I got my first client like from Instagram, and it's been really good. I've been booked and busy. It's a little tricky now because we're in second lockdown, and again, my niche is beauty. So it's like they have money, then they don't have money because they're not allowed to do work. So it's like I'm working with them to try and, you know, keep things moving along, even though they have no income coming in, some of them. So yeah, but apart from that, that's how I got started, and that's why I'm here. I like to network with other designers, you know, so thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming through and for telling us a bit more about your business. And I really love especially how you were able to like right out of the gate niche down. And I think that's something sometimes new designers, I could see, speaking for myself, when I came into the industry, I definitely didn't niche down. I was working on absolutely everything for absolutely every single niche. I did like an HVAC person, I did like a dentist, I did like a doctor, I did a plastic surgeon, but there really is like, as the saying is, riches in the niches. So thank you so much for sharing. And I look forward to what we're gonna talk about later on throughout the course of this call. So right now I want to introduce Pepper. Right now her mic she's in somewhere where she can't really use the mic, but she is present in here, and we do appreciate you being here, Pepper. So she had initially started out as a blogger in 2013. So she has quite a bit of experience, extensive, deep experience, and she started blogging with WordPress. She has also been an instructor and a teacher teaching WordPress at Ontario colleges, and she has taught up until this point in time over 100 students. She's also a very good friend of mine. I look up to her a lot, especially as a designer and as a developer, and her marketing experience is absolutely astounding. And I really do appreciate you being here, Pepper. And I hope that intro did you justice. Thank you again for being present. Really appreciate it. So without further ado, Sandra, you're up next. Please intro yourself. Tell us a bit about your experience with WordPress, or even in this digital marketing / design space. And we really appreciated your SEO talk last night at yesterday's meetup. That was really, really
The informal talk.
informal, but still very insightful. So floor is all yours.
My green screen's doing some weird things back here, so I'm going to turn that off soon. So I'm not a designer or developer. I do content blogging for my business, my company. So that's been my primary way of using WordPress and Divi, which I've now used since 2014. So I've been through a lot of up and downs with Divi and WordPress and things not working and Yoast going crazy and all that kind of stuff. So the thing that, as you know from last night, Christina, was it last night? It was, right? That I'm really interested in SEO, and I think it's really fun. And you know, figuring it out how to get people to your site just through content is really it's like a game, really. I've met a lot of people since COVID lockdown in the Divi community across North America. So I've been to Divi Sacramento meetings, Divi Chicago, Divi Washington, all kinds of great things that people are doing and talking about. It's such a really nice sharing community, I would say. I went to the Black Friday deal bonanza thing, and Christine, I sent you the link to all of the plugins and everything that are on sale tomorrow, I guess. You got that, correct?
Yeah, I got it. And If
Great
anyone
stuff.
is interested in getting access to the Excel sheet, let me know in the chat. And what I'll do is when I upload all of the meetups this week, I'll also make sure to upload a link to that Google Sheet as well. So there's a lot of plugins, I guess, mostly for Divi. Were they Divi
I
specific?
think they're pretty well Divi, like
Okay.
Divi Supreme, and just all kinds of neat plugins that I haven't really used. I don't tend to use a lot of extra stuff other than the kind of the standard Yoast and WordFence and that type of thing. But yeah, like they did a lot of really cool things, like created special widgets and did breadcrumbs and all that kind of thing. So I think it's a Google Sheets versus Excel, just so you know. But yeah, I downloaded it as an Excel file. So because I never know if the link's gonna continue on. So that's it. I maybe I might become a designer or developer in the future after all this. We will see.
Yeah, the thing is, like, content when it comes to like a long lasting website is so important. And I
It's
think
so I
sometimes,
definitely found it's so much work. Like one
really,
blog post can take me 1 day to a week
I
to
can see
do
that.
it the way I want to do it, but it
I can
pays
see that.
off. So
I can see that. Well, thank you so much for sharing and for being here 2 nights in a row. Appreciate you. And last but not least, Boris, you are up. And I think it's fitting that you're going last, because I'd really like to kind of hear and for you to share with everybody what your experience has been with cold calling. Because like I mentioned yesterday in the WordPress meetup, I think it's something where the newer generation of designers, we are scared to do it, or we're really scared to do cold email as well. But I don't know if you guys are familiar with Twitter, but there's like this whole section of Twitter that is just dedicated to designers, developers, content writers, copywriters who close multi-thousand-dollar deals by using cold email and cold calling. And so it's like a lost art. So Boris, like, floor is yours. Please intro yourself. Tell us about your WordPress experience. And then
Okay.
I'd like to open up the conversation talking about cold email and basically cold outreach, specifically for getting leads for your design or content marketing business.
All right. Can
Floor is
everybody
yours.
hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Good.
you.
Okay, good. All right. So yeah, my name's Boris. I started out this thing in the late 90s, just when internet was starting to come around. So I have an IT background, so I worked for a consulting company, and they led me on to building a website. So one of the first sites was for the NHL Players Association. Beautiful website. This is the one, I don't know if you're ever into hockey. That site is basically stats. So you go to, look up players, what their stats was, where they came from, how much they're making, and all that sort of stuff. Anyways, that little website, I think we charged those roughly around $90,000. And I thought, oh, this is neat. Because I usually, again, being an IT developer, you're into, hundreds of thousands of dollars or $1 million contracts, right? Building mainframes and all sorts of other systems. And this was something a bit different. So anyways, met a few people on there. And those days, there's everything was done by hand, HTML, etc. And tools were starting to come out. So I lucked into a little program called NetObjects. Basically, it was drag and drop, one of the first ones on there, and it would generate HTML. And it was pretty cool. You could start with a design, and most of the time, it would be like more of a template type thing, where you say, okay, here's what the page looks like, and every time I say, give me another page, you already had half of it done. You just had to put content in there. So I thought, okay, this is great. Now, that same company were doing for smaller businesses websites, and they were charging anywhere between $3,000 to $6,000. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. So with a few other people, we got that NetObjects and started undercutting everybody. Say, we can do the site for half the price type thing, and we were able to do maybe 1 or 2 sites a week. Again, money wasn't that great, so I thought we had to push it a bit more. But anyways, long story short, I still end up doing a lot of contract work, and the web design was still a sideline. So come early 2000s, that's when I did it full time. And that's where you sort of say, okay, where's my money going to come from? And at that time, there's a lot more programs coming out like Dreamweaver, etc. So you really had to hustle. And basically, to get clients, that's what you did. You spent most of the time going around searching, cold calling, knocking on doors, especially for businesses. You know, a lot of them didn't have websites, and trying to convince them. Still sort of new. The ones that knew about it or seen it, yeah, they were willing to pay some of the bigger dollars, but most of them were still a bit skeptical on there. So long story
when
short,
was this? Like what year was
early
this?
2000s now.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. So stuff was really evolving, and what was happening too. A lot of I guess design companies are coming out. Like Photoshop was coming in. I think early 2000s. There's Photoshop 1, 2, et cetera on there. Everything was getting better. But what I was discovering too is the cost of building the sites was going down. Yeah, you could still get a few of the large corporations that would do it, but you had to sort of prove yourself. They wouldn't go with a 1 or 2 person company. What usually happened is the big marketing guys or the guys that did commercials and that, they started branching out and doing websites because they could charge the big dollars, and that's what you're sort of competing with. At least I found at that time. So near 2010, etc., I come up with another few people. I started doing to try to compete the buck a day websites. I figure I can, with the tools on there, I can throw together 4 or 5 page website for about $30 a month. And then the thing is, doing that way, what I was looking for is, okay, most of the people I had to compete with did design and go. But then, trying to get to the next website to design was still a far in between stretch sometimes. So my strategy was to try to get residual income coming in. So try to manage the site for them. So I went and did a lot of research. I would offer hosting. Usually it would be get your own server or third party, like what was the one? Rapid Online. Oh, Rackspace. That was one of my first big ones on there that I signed in. They had a cloud type service, and it was oodles of space, so you paid by the usage. For services fast, etc. So anyway, so I offered all my clients that I'd hosted for them. Yeah, a few guys didn't, want to do on their own, and I probably went with it. But again, each hosting company was different. You had to learn a lot of new stuff quickly. This is before cPanel came in. With the advent of like cPanel and was it Plesk and all that, it sort of tightened the hosting, from service to service. And then, as you know, hosting really dropped down. Like my first hosting thing I was involved in cost almost $200 a month type thing, just for single site and that. And just just for give away my age, my first domain when it registered in the late 90s was roughly $300, believe it or not. And that's I forget what the company is. I think Jacques can probably remember, but that's why everything came down to nickels and dimes now. Usually brought on by that company GoDaddy. They were one of the first aggressive ones that advertised domain registration, etc. So, anyways, come to today, I still do it more of on a part-time basis. I went back to consulting. It's a tough road. You can't compete with guys, somebody's cousin, nephew, whatever, doing a website for somebody, and a few people, depending on who you tackle or go, they're not willing to pay, just like graphics. If you remember graphics, people used to be able to make a good living doing, the hand-painted signs, etc. And now I find people tend to not pay for stuff because everything's available for, quote, free. And that's about it in a nutshell. So going back to cold calling, you got really good at it. I used to do a lot of trade shows. There's a few guys, again, these are older books from the 50s and 60s, where guys, I'll have to give you the names. I can't remember off the top of my head, but a lot of guys wrote books on how to do door-to-door sales and also run trade shows, approaching people. And sometimes you get to be pretty good at reading, especially, if you, knock on the door, you're trying to sell a website and the guy gives you the runaround. So you sort of say, shy away and say, okay, thank you, don't call, sorry. If you need me, call me. If not, I'll, usually what I did is usually touch base with them maybe a year or two, but most of the time they were off my list type thing. So always go to the next one. So now, the existing clients that I have, the way I get some new ones is I usually tackle people with existing sites. So a lot of times, when you look around, you'll see a website name on somebody's truck and that. And I usually tend to look it up. And majority of times I find that it's either pretty bad, slow, doesn't tell a story, etc. And those are the ones I usually try to, approach. And a lot of times, again, you take it with a grain of salt. It's done by his kid or nephew, etc. And then that's where the cold calling comes in great. I'm trying to convince him that, look, I can do things a bit better, and then negotiate a price, etc. So that's about it in a nutshell. So it's a vicious, I guess you go through the same thing. It's always a cycle on there.
For sure, for sure. So I think like right now, like in December, like at Noya, we're gonna actually start cold emailing. So we've been able, like right now, what we've done is we've niched all the way down. So before we would provide web design services across WooCommerce, across WooCommerce, Shopify, and WordPress. But now we've niched down and we're only working with Divi. Number one, we're only working with WordPress. Number two, and we're only working with nonprofits. And so we've been told by nonprofits that, why would you want to work with nonprofits? We don't have money. But the thing that we're doing is we are going after nonprofits that have recently won funding over $1 million. So right off the bat, if you've recently won funding for over $1 million, you can spend 10% of that to build a new website.
Yeah, but will they?
So the thing is though, the thing that we're using to niche down further is, number one, we look at what they currently have. So the way our strategy is to come in is we're not immediately coming to them and saying, hey, we're going to charge you $25,000 to $100,000 for your website redesign. We're charging them a lower ticket offer of around $1,500 to $2,500 for a website audit that we then present to them. And so the point of the audit is to basically tell them, hey, we know that you don't have money, even though we know they do have money because they just won $1 million in funding. But we tell them, we know you don't have money, and we know you have somebody on your team who's managing your website. This audit, we will give it to you guys for $2,500, and we will show you, we will basically teach you everything that's wrong with your website, and then this person on your team will implement it. And we've been able to set up an advisory board in the company who will basically say, basically we have an advisory board of communications directors who we've worked with in the past, but also they've worked with a vast number of nonprofits so that to try and find out the way that they think. So that's kind of how we've done our market research. And we are going to be like super careful with the anti-spam. We are being super careful about that. But that's kind of what we are doing. But yeah, anti-spam could be for consumers as well. But that's kind of what we're doing. And like we told ourselves, we're like, okay, we're going into 2021. And the main reason why we really want to focus on lead generation is because that's the lifeblood of your business. Like we want to make sure that the funnel is like always full. So hold on, Sandra, can you like maybe expand a bit more? Because people still cold.
Yeah, the Castle anti-spam law applies to everyone. And you can't email someone without their consent. And it's not just consumers, it's everyone. So you should be aware of it. I haven't heard of anyone being actually penalized, but the penalties are huge, like 1 million if they decide to go after you. So basically what you should do is contact the person first, get their consent, and then send them an email.
So how would you recommend doing that?
So when I learned about this was back in 2014. And I had a company actually do the cold calling, and then they called and then got the consent to send the email, and then I would send the email. If, however, they go on your site and say, contact me, and you have the checkbox saying, yes, I consent to be contacted, you're satisfying Castle. Okay, but you should not be cold emailing. So the term cold emailing really scares me from way back when in 2014.
Okay, sorry. Can you just go through the first part again? So what is the correct way to do it?
So you have to get their consent. Okay, their consent can be via phone, for example. So you phone them first, you get their consent, and then you're able to email them. Or alternatively, what they have on pretty well any contact form on any website is the little checkbox saying, yes, I consent for you to contact me. And that satisfies that requirement.
So then I have a question. Then if I just pick up the phone, so isn't there rules against cold email then? Because if I have to call you to get your consent to send you an email, isn't that
so you're talking about cold calling versus cold email, right?
Fair point.
So you're able to cold call, but cold email is where they can get you, and that includes texting. It really scared the heck out of me way back when in 2014, because I thought at that point I could just send emails, good, done, and then it turns out it turned the marketing community upside down, because they ended up getting rid of all of their lists because they didn't have consent at the big marketing companies, and they had to start all over again. And so that's why there's always that little checkbox on pretty well everything. Yes, I agree to you contact me, or it could be your partners. So for example, let's say it's a magazine and you fill something out and it says, yes, you can contact me or my partners, then that satisfies Castle. But it just, for me, I never cold email for that reason.
Good to know. I think, Favor, you said you wanted to add, so please go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And
That's the same limit that I ran into, that you just mentioned, Sandra. You have to have a consent from the person to send them an email.
Cool. So Favor, go ahead.
well, yeah, what you said is really interesting, because recently, I've been talking to a few marketing agencies that actually and
Whoops.
Oh,
spamming too. He went through. I think the website is. You could click if you have the chance. Can you hear me?
you're cutting in and out. I'm not sure if it's me
Yeah, we
or.
can hear you very well.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. Okay. Is he frozen or am I frozen? He's frozen.
Possibly
He's frozen.
Oh, okay.
Favor, if you can hear
Can
us.
you hear me?
Yeah, that's it.
Yep.
Okay, sorry about that. I'll be quick. So
No worries, no worries.
the Laurie came into our class, and it was through Zoom. He mentioned that yes, cold spam.
Oh dear, we're losing connection. Favor, if you can still hear us, can you please, we can't hear you, the connection is bad, but can you please type what you wanted to say in the chat? Just so that we have a record of it and so that we can come
When
back
it
to
comes to
it.
spamming, absolutely.
Cool. Well, I'm really glad to have learned that, because I feel like that will definitely kind of help me with my process with cold email and cold outreach. Like I think, but so there's been other things that I've tried, and I don't know, like if you're a part of my Facebook group, you would know that I think at the beginning of this year, I tried a cold DMing approach on LinkedIn, but I didn't well, I guess it'll be warm, where basically I reached out to all of my LinkedIn connections and reintroduced myself. And that was really an interesting study in basically putting yourself out there and reconnecting / connecting with people who you've kind of already had some form of connection with, but maybe reigniting. So it was warm, but I felt that it was beneficial because it definitely brought more people back to my LinkedIn profile. And then I definitely used like a whole lot of SEO to optimize my profile. And that was something that I think I've done really well is optimize my LinkedIn profile for the keyword WordPress. So I just finished up a project with someone and they said that like we typed in so many different variations of WordPress on in LinkedIn, and you were always like within the top 4. So your profile is pretty well optimized. So I definitely think SEO is like super important when it comes to any type of anything that you're doing on online. So I want to open the floor. Are there any other topics that anybody else would like to discuss? Mika, go ahead.
Hi, yeah, so I just want to share one of the strategies that I've used because almost all of my clients come from Instagram. Like my first client was from Instagram.
Mhm.
So because I'm not a fan of cold calling, I've done telemarketing before, like in the past. So I know all about cold calling, but
Mhm.
you know, and I'm comfortable on the phone. It's
Yeah.
just something I felt I wanted to do with my business, you know? So it's like, it makes me feel icky inside. I don't know. I don't like cold calling when it's done to me. So, but I did feel like I obviously needed to reach out to people. So some type of cold
Yeah.
marketing, you know? So what I did from the beginning of my journey on this web design business is I used Instagram, solely Instagram. And so what I would do is I would find larger accounts that have my audience, and I would, or even just using hashtags now, it's like so easy to just look up a hashtag for the niche that I'm targeting, and it's hashtags that they use. So if they're lash artists, I'll choose like, you know, I like lash trainers because they make more money. So I'll look for lash trainer, and then I will go and engage with them. So I'll like 10 of their pictures and then write a genuine comment on one of them. And now that there's Instagram stories, I'll react to their stories. And I may do that for like a week or so. And you know how it shows you like seeing like if they saw your reaction or if they saw if
Mhm.
you commented or whatever. So yeah, like once I get that seen sign, like I react to one of their stories and it shows me that they've opened up that gateway for me to communicate with them, then I'll ask them a question. And the question is normally like, you know, because I have like my customer profile, so I usually don't want them to have a website already, or if they have a website, it's really bad, you know, and or like they have a booking calendar, so I know that like they may just need a website to attach, you know, to have a link
Mhm.
calendar, you know. So like I pick who I want, and I want them to have a big following or a decent following. I want their brand colors to already be on point. Like I really decide who I want, and then I kind of like go after them like in a soft way, and then they end up wanting my service. So like I'll ask them a question, they come to my page, because I just feel like psychologically you're like on Instagram to be liked, right? And they're looking at me
Mhm.
like potential clients. So if I'm engaging with their content, genuine engagement, then they come to my page and they're like, oh, who is this person? She liked my stuff, she's commenting and she's reacting to my stuff, and then they see, oh, she's a web designer. And like 9 times out of 10, like with the clients that I've gotten, they've actually requested my service and I didn't have to like, I haven't had to sell any of them. So I found that to be really, I find that like social media has just been so amazing. I did try the cold, not emailing, but the cold DMing, and that didn't work for me. Like, I feel like I have to warm them up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like engage with them.
Right.
I don't know if it's because of the niche that I've chosen. They're using Instagram for their business already. So
Mhm.
they, you know, maybe they're busy. I don't know. They just don't want to engage with random people. But like, if I'm engaging with them constantly, then they're more likely to engage back with me. And I found it to be like really effective, like super effective with just that. So that's why I haven't really dabbled into the cold calling,
Mm.
cold emailing, because I found like since the beginning, Instagram has done it for me. With just me doing organic engagement with people, I'm able to really target exactly who I want. And then they in turn request my services instead of me having to sell myself basically. So just wanted to share that, you know, tactic.
Cool.
Can I ask you
That's,
a question?
yeah, go ahead.
Oh,
Um, just curious about, so is your presence on Instagram, is it a personal Instagram account or a business Instagram account?
It's a business one. So it's a business one, but I have a few pictures of myself. So I decided to post quotes in the beginning, like because I decided who my audience was. They're like millennials, for instance, you know, they're females between the ages of like, let's say 24 to 40, you know, they're in the beauty industry or they're in the events industry, and they like boss babe quotes. They like girl boss quotes. They like that stuff already. They hang out on those pages already. So I basically created my page to appeal to them. So I don't have a whole ton of work. Like there's very few of my website projects or design projects on my page, but sometimes I would have them reposting my quotes, you know, my boss babe quotes or my entrepreneur quotes or motivational quotes. And I used to use those type of hashtags and just engage with them because they're already following pages like that, right? So I just kind of like used that vibe and then sprinkled in some of my work and that it's just been working. I've been doing it ever since. And it's, you know, they see my work there too, right? So it's not like and it says that I'm a web designer at the top. So even though they come there and it says, you know, there's just nothing but quotes really, they're able to see that, oh, she does websites, oh, she does logos. But I also got a lot of people thinking, do you do social media contents? Like, do you do that because of how my feed looks? Like, it looks like it's curated, I guess, like a social media, you know, those people, social media content creators or whatever. So I'd get those questions, but yeah, it just appeals to them. So it is a business page, but I do show my face as well.
That's really interesting because that's something that's been on the back of my mind because I've heard a lot of people say they're getting work from Instagram, and I've been thinking about, well, what kind of content would I post on Instagram? So that's interesting. Yeah, I like your approach. It's very subtle, so it's not just, you know, here's all the work I do, or, you know, more industry related, but you're targeting your audience that you want to engage with, and then and then spending the time to engage with their posts. That's really great. Yeah, thank you for that. Do you mind, can I have a look at your Instagram account?
Yeah, sure. It's DIY boss _
BOSS?
Yeah, DIY BOSS _
Okay, that's great. Thank you so much for that.
No problem.
I put it in the chat in case you want to, anyone else wants to visit the Instagram account. Sorry, KMI, I forgot to open the floor to you to introduce yourself. If you are able to, do you want to unmute your mic and basically introduce yourself, let us know a bit about you, your business, and yeah, if available. Not a problem. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mika. I know for me myself, I have like a love-hate relationship with Instagram, but for my business, if like when we were not doing, when we weren't focused and we didn't have a client, Instagram was very, very beneficial for us to generate clients. Essentially what would happen is that when I checked the metrics, it was like if I made a post on my feed, I would always get one lead from that. So that was something that I found was beneficial. But then what I'd find is that these weren't really qualified leads. So it might be someone who wants like they want like a Shopify store, but their budget is like $500. Or they want to build like a community with a forum and a store and sell digital products, but like they want to start right away, but they have no branding and no logo, etc. So the main reason, so Instagram can be super powerful. And I really do feel that if you're able to really find the community that you want to service on Instagram, it can be very, very powerful. It's still one of the largest social media networks out there. It's still very, very active. But one thing I've always said, and something I wanted to share, was how for most of the projects that we've actually gotten that were within our target demographic, which was nonprofits, we actually were able to get those clients through Facebook groups. And this is something that I tell people all the time, and nobody believes me. Like nobody wants to listen when I say this, but we have literally won projects in like the tens of thousands of dollars from just being active on Facebook groups. And so that's really that's where I come in and say that social media is very, very powerful, like you said, Mika. And I think it's just about finding out, firstly, choosing and really getting clear on who your target demographic is, and then going where they are and showing up consistently and showing up to the best of your ability. So like, I feel like that's the best advice when it comes to social media. But yeah, any other, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 8:30 already. Are there any final remarks from anyone? The time went so fast. I so sorry about that. But if there are any final remarks, floor is open to anyone.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a question, I guess, to everybody or even Mika. How do you build? Do you build like design and I call it design and go, or do you offer the service so get like a flat monthly rate? That way you have residual money coming in for those highs and lows.
Yeah, so I actually started doing hosting. Like this is Boris, right?
Yes.
You mentioned doing hosting as well. So I actually started doing that recently. So I do have about, it just started. So I only have like about $600 coming in for hosting. I started at $15 because I felt a little weird about it. And now I'm at 35 US dollars. And then some clients that are a little bit bigger, they're like at 47 US per website. So, and every client I take on now, I always tell them I'm going to host them. Now, I never wanted to do that, but because I realized when I leave a client with their website, if something goes wrong, they call me. And then I'm like, even when I call a hosting provider for a client or for myself, they always say, call your developer. So you know what I mean? Which is me.
Yep.
So I
Perfect.
decided like I have to deal with it anyway. So why not charge them for it? Because I end up doing it for free because I feel bad. You know what I mean? Like I could
Exactly.
just
Of
tell you, go
course.
find somebody for $250 and they'll fix it for you. Or sometimes it's just a plugin conflict. Like I don't mind fixing a problem, but I was doing it for free. So that's why now if you're my client, you have to pay me for hosting unless they like really, really request to not pay for hosting. But I make it very clear that if you need my help, you're going to have to pay me from the jump so that there is no confusion there if they do have a website that's down or something like that. But in terms of how I price things, I've decided that because I feel weird about selling, and I know that's crazy because I'm an entrepreneur, you have to sell, but the easiest way for me from the beginning was to put my prices on my website, and I feel like that filters out people. So I have packages and then I have a quote form. So depending on if you just want a ready-made type of package, there is a price. And I came up with those prices by timing how long it would take me to do things. And again, since I'm using all-in-one WP migration, I can easily duplicate a site. And even like Divi and Elementor, all these different platforms that you're able to like copy and paste templates basically, you know? So
Yeah.
it's made my process of designing a site faster than it used to be. So I can come up with a rate that I'm comfortable with and just say, this is what you're getting and it's going to cost you this much. And I know for me, it's going to take me maybe 10 to 15 hours to complete. So I'm very transparent about my pricing. Anything you want, it's on my website, like the price is there, either in the quote form or as a package, as a
Yeah.
bundle. So that's how I've been doing it.
Oh, good. I'll try to go onto your site. What is your site, anyways? Or can you?
Designerboss.com.
Oh, okay. I'll take a look, and then maybe I'll contact you offline. Just curious to see what trials and tribulations you did with hosting, because I've had a lot of experience on it, and well, so does Jacques. He'll talk your ear off on that. Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Sorry, Mika, can you please put your website in the chat just so that everyone can see it, please? If you don't mind. Cool. Any other closing remarks? I think Pepper mentioned in the chat that the effect that Mika was referring to was the reciprocity effect in terms of the engagement within Instagram. Just going back through here. Jacques was asking Mika, what hosting service do you use? Oh, SiteGround. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I use SiteGround as well. I wouldn't say that. I don't use SiteGround as much as I could. But I've been using this company for like over a decade called Resellers Panel. And that's who I use for my hosting. And that's what I sell to all my clients. And the only reason that I added SiteGround to my portfolio was because everybody on Twitter was using them and using them as an affiliate. But I didn't know that for all these years I was using resellers panel, I was basically wholesaling for them. So I find that with resellers panel, I get a higher profit margin as opposed to if I use SiteGround. So what would happen is they'll sell me the hosting for like $65 per year, and then I mark it up to like 160 bucks and or whatever I wanted, and I can create custom packages. So I found that that's a bit more customized for what me and my clients need, and I really like their support. But yeah, if any other topics anyone wants to cover before we round it up, just feel free to like unmute yourself and yeah.
One of the reasons I'm considering going into my own hosting using a virtual private server is the fact that both A2 Hosting and SiteGround, which have been my go-to server providers, have raised their prices quite considerably.
Oh
The
yeah?
You know, the Black Friday price is tripled when your 1 year or 2 year or 3 year contract is done, and it's quite expensive at that rate. And so I'm looking at doing a VPS. I know Boris is recommending Cloudways, and I must admit I still haven't resolved what is the best source. Other than this, the virtual private server has been I have not had response time greater than 1 second for some pretty big websites. I've been amazed in terms of the performance that VPS deliver. But I'll have more testing on that, and I'll write it up on my the open sourcery site.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, so like whenever you're going to use, like, even if you want to go bare metal or you're trying to use a VPS, you will always, the resources are always much better than shared hosting, because at the end of the day, whether it's SiteGround, A2 hosting, resellers panel, it's all shared hosting. So a VPS, or even if you want to be like super expensive and get a dedicated server for your WordPress website, it will always be the fastest for sure. Bruno, I see your mic is unmuted. Would love to hear your thoughts.
Sure. Yeah. So I did try WordPress Jetpack CRM.
Oh yeah.
It's ugly, but it seemed to cover all the bases in terms of the CRM.
Okay.
I'm just left thinking, there's obviously a myriad of options, and I just want to, like, maybe it's a little bit of a bigger question for maybe another time, but I'm looking to make a decision on an actual CRM soon. So yeah, I mean, just wanted to report back on that.
Awesome. Well, you know where I stand. So for my CRM, I use Dubsado. Pepper uses HubSpot. Favor, can you list the one you used yesterday? I don't remember what it was called.
Go High Level. I'll just put that in the chat.
Go High Level. Favor also mentioned Notion. Dubsado has they're doing a sale tomorrow, I believe. And they also they're doing a sale tomorrow for Black Friday. And something else, I don't remember. Oh yeah, I remember. And gosh, I just forgot. They're having a sale tomorrow. Oh yes, I remember. And your first 3 clients are free, unlimited. So if you did want to try it out for like 3 web design projects, you can do that. It's fully featured, and you can use it for 3 clients for absolutely free lifetime. And if you do want a promo code, you can use mine, my designs, to get 20% off. Pepper also mentioned you could also use good old Microsoft Access. I haven't opened Access in years, but yes.
You know what? I'm pretty good with spreadsheets, so that's sort of the way that I've managed it so far.
Okay.
But I want to upgrade.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I totally get it. Well, you know what? I think, I built my share of Microsoft Access databases. So I think you could definitely upgrade by building a super custom database. But there's so many recommendations in the chat. Like Asana is also really,
Yeah.
really good for project management. Okay. We're running so over. I have one last question for everyone. What is everyone using for project management? Because I like ClickUp, but I haven't gone deep into it. And I know, Mika, you mentioned Asana, but what is everyone else using? Pepper's also using Asana. Bruno, Jacques, Boris, Favor, what are you guys using for project management?
Pen and paper?
Again?
Paper and Excel spreadsheets.
Well, you laughed at the spreadsheet. No, seriously, anybody try, every time you go into YouTube, what's that site, Monday? They keep putting
Yeah, they do keep on putting ads up.
anybody look at that?
Yeah. I had a test account. It's very user friendly. It's very pretty.
Oh.
But probably expensive when you got to pay for it, right?
Probably as you grow up, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Just to add to that, when I was working for a marketing agency, we were using ClickUp and
ClickUp as well.
Nice. And right now, I'm not into project management because I have an outsourcing team for that. So we communicate. Yeah, but I'm working on it.
Cool. Cool. Well, everyone, I want to thank you all for coming by and staying for the full hour, 10 minutes. This was super great. I would love to do this again. So let me know if it's something you'd like to do again. I do want to get a screenshot of everyone. So if you're comfortable, if you could please turn on your camera so we can get our smiling faces for a picture, that would be fantastic. Unless you don't feel like it, then you don't have to. But yeah, so
I don't have a camera. My other computer died, so I'm using the big old box.
No problem. So whoever is here, no worries. 3, 2, 1. I'm taking a screenshot, so smile. Taking another screenshot, so smile. And let me paste this into Photoshop to see if it works. Oh, pretty, perfect, awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And KMI is actually Mark. So Mark, also thank you. Your presence was felt. We appreciate you being here. I may do one of these again in January, but everyone, either comment on today's meetup, what you'd like to discuss in January regarding business planning, etc. And I'll see if I can find an expert to kind of talk to us about one of those things. But yeah, thank you everyone for coming by. You are appreciated, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Bye for now.
It was fun.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye everyone. Thanks for coming.